Welcome to the Music Reel. I'm your host, Nicola Burton. I have the distinct pleasure of speaking with a gentleman that I met quite a few years ago in London. And this is Mike Clark, who is a global thought leader for Dent Global. Mike, it is so lovely to see you again.
Nicola, it is an absolute pleasure to see you again. It was an absolute, not surprise, but it was one of those funny occurrences that you have in life where you go, hang on, remember that moment when we first met and we first connected many years ago? So Mr. John DiMartini.
Yep, Dr. John DiMartini has a way of bringing people all over the world together, which is absolutely brilliant. Now, look, the reason why I wanted to talk to you, Mike, is obviously, as you know, the music industry, the arts industry, has been deeply impacted by the events of 2020. So since March, I think it's been 6 months since there's been no meaningful income. Now, I want to talk to you because we need to hear an alternative narrative for our industry. I guess we need to get a different perspective because let's start with mindset. Mindset is something I think that across the board, we've got some mental health challenges. And there is a bit of a tendency to get stuck in that victim mentality. You know, we have no gigs, the government hasn't given us funding. So we really need to pivot that before we can start innovating. So I thought that would be the first thing I'd start off with you. What are your suggestions to help shift us out of that mindset?
Well, I think the first one is to, first of all, appreciate that, yes, there are changes to the industry. And obviously some industries, particularly like the music industry, has been hit harder than others. But effectively, if we think about it this way, is that economic environments are designed to expose the inefficiencies of a marketplace. So for the travel industry, another industry has been radically impacted by this, okay? You could sit there and say as a travel agent, geez, business is dead, it's dying off, etc. Or you can say, well, hang on, how was my business inefficient previously? What's the new level of insight that I need to be taking away from this so that I can reinvent my business? And so I think and as a result of that, we've got some clients that, immediately have pivoted very quickly from effectively doing international travel to doing local travel. I've got I was talking to one of our clients the other day who does in the hospitality sector. He provides, normally provides marketing solutions to hospitality sectors. So obviously, when the pandemic hit as well, they were dramatically impacted. Their businesses fell off a cliff. But instead of licking their wounds and saying, well, woe is me, it was, well, what's the new innovation that needs to happen? And so as a result of that, when I was talking to this particular client, he then went on to say that he had 10 coaching clients that he was working with. Immediately, he got them together and said, listen, this is how we need to pivot and reinvent ourselves, turn them into, he turned them into home delivery services. They started outreaching with their clients immediately. And as a result of it, he said that these businesses pivoted where other restaurant owners are going, it's over, it's a nightmare. They were able to stabilize, still maintain revenue streams coming through. And as a result of it now, they've built such a good quality relationship with their clients. So I find whenever I'm in a stress position, taking courage from others and learning from others who have been through similar scenarios helps a lot. And so I would say in this period of time, I understand, I feel for people and businesses that have been affected by this. It's a radical, shake around. It's like you've been in the boxing ring and smacked around in the first couple of rounds, but you got to pick yourself up. You've got to figure out, okay, so what can I take away from this? How can I innovate? How can I adapt to these environments? And there's a friend of mine who is in the music industry, done a lot of events and gigs, and he's now just reinvented in a completely new album. He's actually now reaching out to media to talk about an online campaign and release. So he's getting the media to rally around him with that. And so I think that I'd take courage and stock that there is a pathway through this. We just have to reinvent yourself through it and have a bit of belief and faith by it, and take faith from other industries that have.
I think that's important, the way that you've said that we really have to, I think, take stock and listen to other people's stories and just, okay, pick up some of their courage. The challenge is for these guys is that when the pubs and clubs still have restrictions, as we do in Brisbane, in Queensland, where there's between 60 to 100 people allowed in the venues are like, well, it's too cost prohibitive. I can't have live music. So there's been this, general sense of, okay, how do I transfer my skills into something else? And that's, I think, something that would be great for people to hear about, Mike. What's the process to identify the transferable skills so that they can go, okay, I'm going to pivot over here? What are your thoughts on that? For people who either they're front of house, on stage, back of house, side of stage, that have just lost, their inability, they've got no ability to actually gig or to go to an event because of the restrictions that are still happening. What are your thoughts on transferable skills?
Yeah, great question. So sometimes it's not obvious what those are, okay? And particularly if you haven't been in an environment which has forced you to continually reinvent or to find a new solution, by ourselves, it can be difficult to find a way to make those transferable skills go across. So what I would be recommending is to, first and foremost, what we've been saying to our clients consistently is talk to your clients, reach out, find out where they're at. What could you do with them in order to be able to co-collaborate, co-create? And so, so in the music industry, if you've got some clients, pubs, clubs, for example, that are quieter now, I mean, heck, talk to them and say, well, what innovations might you be able to create together? Might you be able to, as an example, be able to find a way to, maybe do some sort of promotion together? Could you show them how to be able to, how could they almost show a sign of support to a local community? Could you come up with some community-based events where you could get together and bring people? What we've been doing from the very beginning is really connecting with our clients, encouraging our clients to be reaching out to their communities, because we all have new problems that we're facing now. And sometimes the problems...
There's your secretaries coming in to help.
Yes. Sweetie pie, Daddy's in an interview now.
This is what it's like working in 2020. This is, and it's all part of it. And this is how we just adapt.
Thank you, my sweetheart. And
we're seeing it live on the music reel. Go, Mike. Well done. Hey, that's perfect, because that's what it's like. We work around it, right?
We have a saying in our community that all children and pets are now officially referred to as co-workers.
There you go.
So a co-worker has just interrupted me to show me her new marbles that she's just picked up from kindy. So
very important, very important. But no, I really appreciate what you're saying, Mike, because that brings me to this incredible book, The Key Person of Influence, Collaboration, Community. So let's talk about that in terms of, artists are part of a community. And this book has got this. Could you maybe outline the 5 steps, which I just think are absolutely brilliant, to give people in this industry an idea of what's available for them?
Definitely. And maybe just before I do get circling back to that, you triggered a thought when you said the word community. If you think about it, music brings people together. Music connects people. And if I was in that position in that industry, I'd be looking about how can you position yourself and what you do in a way that connects other associations, other pubs, clubs, involves them, and how can you connect your community? And it's not a set answer here, but I think thinking outside the box, thinking creatively, sitting down and just, if you've worked with a dozen pubs and so on, you could go out and just talk to them and say, hey, I want to support you. I want to support your community. People are feeling disconnected more than ever before. How could we work together to find a solution that would bring people together, would allow you to be able to maintain a presence for them, but show that you're actually out there supporting the community?
Yeah,
And, you know,
definitely.
I just, you said that word community just now, and it really triggered that for me, is that music just brings people together. And I think there'd be some
Yes.
interesting ways. And getting back to my client who had the hospitality client, you know, but he started doing some outreach campaigns and just showing up and was there giving food to the local community and stuff like that, and was just supporting local families and doing the home deliveries and things of this nature. So, you know, I just feel there'd be some way to be creative, and if you can show that sign of support, it could be an amazing way to raise your brand and just show another side of your brand, which is purpose led.
Mm,
Um,
I
so
agree. Yeah,
yeah,
anyone who's watching this, you're going to get some great ideas from Mike today. Get your pen and paper out, ready to go. But
yeah,
let's look at this book. This talking about influence,
yep.
because there's a community. Let's talk about the 5 steps that are in this book, just very briefly, to give these guys an idea of, if they do a masterclass with you or they get this book, how it might actually give them some perspectives about where to pivot.
Yeah, thanks for that. And you know, this book, interestingly, was born in the back of the last global financial recession in the UK. So around the time actually you and I met, Nicola, shortly afterwards, actually, it was actually we were involved with Dr. DiMartini, and a lot of our products at the time were actually linked to the US dollar exchange. And at that time, it was like this radical shift that happened. So our business was severely impacted. You know, we had a multi-million-dollar business that literally was then sort of not stopped overnight, but was radically ceased, and 3/4 of what was working for us stopped. So we know what it's like to reinvent and to pivot very quickly. And to the credit of Dan, who's my business colleague with all of this. Sorry, I have another co-worker who's joined
Another
me.
co-worker, let them in. This is all part of it.
How about we do this? All right, you have to stay. You're going to stay
Do
here
it
with us.
like that. There we go. Let's do the.
Yeah, yeah.
Hello,
So,
co-worker.
hello, Kita. All right. But effectively, what we found is that this was we had to reinvent ourselves very quickly, and so that's what we've seen is over the last 10 years, we've had 3,500 business leaders work with us to transform and reinvent their business, and we had to reinvent ourselves first. So effectively what I would the 5 P's are based around understanding, number one, how do you pitch, how do you position yourself in such a way so that you are being seen as a specialist in your marketplace, not a generalist. I'm not sure if you're aware of the numbers of businesses in this country, Australia, but globally, there's been a phenomenal growth rate. There's 400 million business leaders, businesses in the country in 2013. We're going to cross 1 billion businesses globally in Australia, globally this year. In Australia, we've gone from 250,000 businesses to 2.5 million businesses in the last 25 years. So competing on price and not standing out is a strategy which we don't want to be playing. And so there's a lot of people in the music industry that, you know, it's like, how do you really stand out? So this methodology is no different from any other industry. How do you actually position yourself in such a way where you can actually be seen as a real specialist, seen to create influence within your industry? And so part of the ways that you do that is really understanding the market that you serve. It's like niches of the music industry. They'll have like real niche markets of who you serve. When you really lean in and understand who that niche is, you then can communicate in a way through a pitch, which is the first P of influence, so pitching. And so you can communicate in a very powerful, succinct way, which is appealing and attractive to them. Secondly, we want to be able to publish content which allows you to be able to keep yourself front of mind and educate what we call a dormant marketplace. So the pure fact that somebody has a book, like you could sit here and have in a sort of maybe not music industry, but you could have a sales conversation again and again and again and again. And those words dissipate after you say them, or you can publish them up into packaged content like this, and all of a sudden it's written, documented once, and can be leverageable and scalable in many different ways. So publishing your ideas is really important. And so for musicians and people in the music industry, whether you're back of house or front of house and on the stage, like if you're back of house talking about transferable skill sets, like what knowledge and insights do you have around the management of systems, AV equipment, everything else that's gone into it, that perhaps you could package up and document and write, and maybe talk about systems of actually multi operations, or your operational systems approach to things. Or in front of house, it's if you're a musician, how can you share your ideas and publish them so that you can really build a better relationship with the audience that you serve? And that's what publishing your ideas does. And then productization is the next sort of P which comes into it. Productization is about really packaging up a range of products that you have so that people get to know you on the front end and they get to trust you. So capturing their attention, building trust with them in a highly scalable and leverageable way. And then on the back end, it's about delivering the full and remarkable solution for individuals, or for the people you serve, I should say. So that's effectively, when it comes to the publishing product side. Raising your profile is all about being known, liked, and trusted in the marketplace, being seen as credible, and increasing your visibility to people who don't know you. So in the music industry, if there's people that you really can serve but they don't know you, how do you actually build yourself as being credible and authoritative in those ways? And getting back to this idea around nurturing communities, right? If you're a musician right now, how could you actually bring together perhaps some media stations, perhaps put something together that would allow you to perhaps generate some mainstream media or local media, like, radio stations, through to social media profile and local places, through to also newspapers and things of that nature, where you could almost bring them together for a community-based event. And as a result of that, the profile of who you are raises, so that those who don't know you get to know who you are, but also get to know how you can serve them and help them as well. And then partnerships is a key piece to it all. So partnerships is the ultimate force multiplier. So we look at partnerships from a three-dimensional perspective. So looking at partnerships from who are people that could accelerate your trust in the market. So, so who are credible people that you could actually collaborate with, and simply because you were collaborating with them, that trust transference goes from one party to another. And I think this sort of idea around partnerships now is more important than ever before. And particularly in the music industry, what we're talking about now, and this idea of bringing communities together, it's about thinking outside the boxes. Who has a relationship with the people that you would love for your music to touch? Who are the organizations, the associations that are engaged and already have a following of those individuals? How could you be reaching out to them, engaging with them, building a relationship with them? And if you did that, they would give you visibility to their community. And as a result of that, your know, like, and trust approach increases. Not only that, if you encourage people to then follow your socials and things of that nature, you can be building your brand, building your profile as well. And the third area of partnerships is distribution. Those people who are sitting on a big list or have a very big reach as part of that as well. So that's how we look at it through the 5 lenses of influence. And if you bring all these together, what it does is it's like rocket fuel for your ship. It literally just allows you to take off. And that's what we've found from working with 3,500 clients from over 60 industries over the last 10 years.
My goodness, Mike, what a great way to explain it to everyone. I think any musician that is watching this, or any arts worker, you've sort of made it quite clear for them to see that there's a process, there's a methodology that can actually help them to innovate and pivot, because obviously now we have to change the way we do business. So I guess, when I was at your Perfecting Your Pitch masterclass last week, you were talking about between 2021 and 2031, it was expected to be the biggest decade of wealth. Now, that makes so much sense, because after the Spanish flu, we had the Roaring Twenties. After the Black Plague, we had the Renaissance. So now we're looking at a new Renaissance. So how can artists, I guess, mindset, transfer skills, really look at their influence to try and leverage that wealth that's coming?
Great question. Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, great question. Well, just getting back to that point, if you were to talk to any economicist, economist, there we go, economist. I've had to say that word a few times today, and I've stumbled with it every time. If you were to talk to any macroeconomist, they would tell you that the cycles of industry go on a 14-year flat run followed by an 18-year bull run, 14-year flat run followed by an 18-year bull run. It's been the history of the markets for quite some time. There's cycles that are cyclical that go around, and this is how they flow. And when you're in a 18-year bull run, which started in 2013, so from 99, the tech boom crash, through to 2013, it was a 14-year flat run. Through to from 2013 till now has been bullish up until this period, obviously, that we've just entered. And so any macroeconomist would have told you that there would be predictable that this recessionary period was due. And there's a number of factors that go into that, but effectively it's predictable because markets get overinflated and it needs a correction. And so what these periods do is they flush out the inefficiencies of old models and create new efficiencies for new models. And so what I think you'll see going forward is the ability for more businesses industries to really start to take a light of that. So I went off on a bit of a tangent. What was the main question on that, though, Nikki?
No, I think that was actually great because for people to understand this cycle and how it does work. And I was just talking about, we've looked at the mindset, we've looked at transferring skills, we've looked at how they can look at their influence. How can they bring that all together, I guess, to leverage this wealth opportunity that is faced because of these cycles?
Yeah, and I think that the reason I explain that background is that's important to understand that these cycles go in periods where they flush out inefficiencies. And so inside every industry, what we find is that there's trend lines that happen that are in place, and certain trend lines are broken at certain times because of new demand, such as there's a shift from purpose or from profit to purpose. So purpose is now trumping profit. And so there's a transition from global to local as another trend line, as an example. And so I think that for the industry, the music industry where it is now, it's really a matter of stepping back and saying, what have been some of the trends that have happened leading up to this? And how might you be able to understand what are some of the trends that will emerge on the other side of this? So technology, if we look at it for the music industry, social media, let's just take that. I mean, as soon as this happened, I remember Coldplay was out there, on social media and having little jams with people and so on. Just Apple itself has radically changed the music industry, organizations like Shazam and things of that nature. So the music industry is always at the cutting edge of this. So I'd be looking at what's next? What's next? How do you need to innovate? What are some of these technologies that are in play will have an impact on what you're doing? And how could you grab hold of some of those to make this coming decade one to remember? Because on the cyclical cycle is that, from 2013 to 20, we didn't know when it would be triggered and didn't know what would cause this, recession, but the pandemic has obviously been the trigger for it. Yeah. But I ran an event in 2018 where it was called 2019, Future Proof 2019 Plus, because what I was saying in that session with a macroeconomist, a friend of mine, Tim Dwyer, is that effectively from 2021, that between now and 2021, there's going to be some recessionary period, but get ready for this next decade because there's going to be more wealth created in this period than in any time in history. And it's those 3% inside any industry, instead of worrying and getting consumed with, my business is over now. Yeah. That reinvent themselves right now, who find new ways to leverage the latest technologies that will then effectively be the innovators coming through in the next 2 years. There'll be another group of about 12%, so you get to 15% of people who will then be saying, well, how are they innovating? What have they done? And they'll start joining the bandwagon. Others will be still traditionally doing what they did all previously. And this might be like, busking and going pubs and clubs is one thing, but how can we actually, are they latest technology? And I don't know the industry well enough, Nicholas, so I'm sorry if I, don't know that, but there'll be certain things that are going on in your industry if you're staying tuned into it, that will, if you start riding that wave and take advantage of it, will give you potentially massive visibility. But also if you apply these same 5 levers that we spoke about and think differently about your industry. Don't do what everybody else is doing. That's a key message. If everyone's doing it, it's hard to stand out. But how could you think differently? How could you apply a different level of pitch? How could you publish content and engage with people in a different way? How could you come up with some different range of products that could engage people? How could you raise your profile in such a way through partnering with some other interesting organizations? And I think at the moment, being there to serve your community is going to be really key.
Yeah.
If you can be that band, be that person who's just, I'll say it, I was going to hesitate for saying, the person that gives a shit about the community, being there, just really being that person where you're doing things and bringing people together, I think that you'll be winning a lot of hearts and minds of people, so that when things do come good again, you'll be on the front of people's minds for that.
I think that's brilliant advice. And I think staying tuned in, being of service, connecting, collaborating, community. I think that's brilliant. And look, anyone who's watching this, I would highly recommend that you get in touch with Mike, because his masterclasses, so the key person of influence, that's the first one that I did, perfecting your pitch, get in touch with him, because I think it really helps to change the way we look at things. So Mike, can you share with people how they can actually participate in these classes with you?
Yeah, sure. I mean, first thing is, if anyone wants a copy of a book, happy to send them a copy. Literally just reach out through LinkedIn. You can find me at Mike Clark. You can also then, the other thing we could do is we've got, if you go to KPI QLD, so literally KPI QLD, so Key Person of Influence Queensland, but all abbreviated, .com. If you go there, you'll be able to get access to some of the upcoming workshops and events. And we also have the key, if you just Google Key Person of Influence Scorecard, effectively, if you just Google Key Person of Influence Scorecard, you'll get access to an assessment tool that gives you some really valuable feedback in terms of how well are you pitching, how well are you publishing content, and all the other 5 Ps. Mm-hmm. And then you'll get a detailed feedback, 35-page report feedback, giving you tips to improve in each area. And we'll let you know about the other stuff beyond that. But I mean, I think what you just said now, Nicola, is really important. It's just about being out there, thinking differently, being agile. I feel for people that have been hit like this industry. I really do. But what I do feel is getting back to Dr. Demartini's philosophy of the world. What if this was a gift?
I agree.
In disguise. And what if this was a kick up the pants like we needed 10 years ago? We had an inefficient business model 10 years ago. As a result of that business model, we were selling other people's stuff. We were promoters for other people's intellectual property. It's not until we created our own intellectual property that allowed us to build a business that's now scaled across 3 major time zones and 3,500 clients. So that was a difficult period for us to go through, but an absolute gift, when you look back on it.
And I think that just sharing your story right now will just help people to really think, wow, I can actually do this. Other people have had this experience. We've actually got this. So Mike Clark, I'm so grateful to you for taking the time to talk to me and for offering this alternative narrative to our industry who don't necessarily think in terms like this. And I think it's so incredibly beneficial for them. So I will put all your information in this post so everyone can get in touch with you. But yeah, thank you so much again.
I really appreciate it, Nicola, and keep up the great work. I applaud you for being of service to your community and doing what you're doing. This is a great channel and voice, just to give people different thoughts, different ideas, because the power of ideas is underestimated, and it's one idea that can make a radical difference to people's lives. Hopefully I've shared at least one or two that'll make a difference to people.
Oh, you have. Yeah. Thank you for that. And thank you so much for talking to us. See you next time.
Over and out. Take